Welcome back. Uh, Long time no see. Um, Looks like we're about a week behind, uh, but that's fine. I have a couple of presentations and lectures for the what I had intended to talk about today, APIs. It was a more or less of a demo on building the a a prototype of what we're asking you to build for your project that you would identify an API and then would build around that a small application that you can query for results and display content. So I'll provide that separately. We'll instead we'll focus on what we were going to cover last week, databases, so that we can progress with the assignment and add capability for data storage, persistent storage to the application that we're building throughout. Um, Next week we do have the midterm. We'll have a review towards the end of the class. Then we'll have a quiz after that. And the assignment will go out, but it won't be due till after the break. So you have a couple weeks to work on that. Let's see. Also, remember that we're building an application that has two pieces of it. It has a faculty side and a student side, and we're using two different frameworks for this. We're using the Java framework for the back end, for the middle tier, relational database, MySQL, and React. And next week when we come back from the break, we'll start with Angular. We'll do Node.js, Mongo, and for the project, you're free to pick and choose what part you want for the front end, which part you want for the middle tier, which part you want for the database. You have Angular in the front end, Java in the middle tier, Node and Mongo in the relational database. So it's a whole bunch of different permutations that you could. You have I guess 6 technologies which you can mix and match any which way, right? You can choose the front end between Angular and React, or even Vue. But we're going to cover that very, very late. Unless you're familiar with Vue, you want to try out and want to play around with that would be an option. In the middle tier, we've done Spring Boot, but when we come back, we'll do Node.js. And in the database, we've done MySQL. We'll do Mongo when we come back. So by now, you should have already formed groups. You should have identify maybe an API of interest to you, and read some documentation, applied for a key. Usually these you have to apply to these APIs. Give them a short description on what it is that you're building. They might even ask you for a URL of where you're going to host this. They might want to have a link to wherever you're building, to have it as a portfolio for them. And so you should be reading that documentation again with the intent that you're going to need at least 2 use cases, right? Being able to pass a query where you'll get a collection of objects that meet that criteria, and then the second use case is taking usually these objects that come back will have some primary key, unique identifier that you can then subsequently do another query for asking for additional details about one particular object in this collection. So yeah, you should be becoming familiar with that and trying it out and hitting it with maybe a really simple React client, and see if you begin to understand how to use it. I think there was a project-based assignment that we were asking you to create a prototype, a first kind of prototype that I don't know, with the dates now have changed, so I don't know when that would be due. I don't know if it would be, I guess, this week. I'm not sure. Where you would create a small prototype. That was the intent of the APIs lecture. we're going to build together a little tiny little um, prototype together. Anyway, I'll provide that as a starting point. You can use my prototype as a starting point, and then you can tweak it and so that you can use it for your own API or whatever it is that you might choose, whatever API your group decides to go with. So today we're gonna do databases, and we'll do JPA. We'll do how to model inheritance in a relational database, and then use the assignment as a means for learning and practicing how to use persistent storage using JPA. Any questions?